Today we bring you this special feature presentation. Walter Elias Disney, the man behind the magic, the founder, the creator, the visionary. He's the namesake of the Walt Disney Company, and yet something is missing from the Disney parks. So, dear Disney, here's my argument for creating an animatronic of Walt Disney. So the first thing that we need to address when discussing the potential of a Walt Disney animatronic is Disney's overall approach to creating audio-animatronic likenesses of real people. As after all, Disney have created animatronic representations of all of the presidents of the United States within the Hall of Presidents in Liberty Square. They've created Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain in the American Adventure over at Epcot, and they have even used the likeness of Harrison Ford and Johnny Depp within the park as well. However, I also feel that Walt Disney's personal approach to animatronics should also be taken into consideration, as when Walt began work on the first human animatronic figure, Walt's justification at the time was that he felt it was very important for the public of the 1960s to be in the presence of that great man, Abraham Lincoln. So, using the same logic, it could easily be argued that the public of today deserve to be in the presence of another great man in Walt Disney. But the next question that has to be asked here is there a precedent set by the Walt Disney Company and also by Walt Disney himself for the inclusion of not just the name, but also Walt Disney within a Disney park? Now, over the last 25 years, Disney have integrated more of the man, Walt Disney, into the parks. As evidence for this can be found in the partner statues in all of the Disney parks around the world, the use of Walt Disney and his story for Club 33 and special restaurants, and of course in the attractions such as One Man's Dream and now the newly named Walt Disney Presents. But in addition to this, Walt knew the power that the Walt Disney name carried, and he knew that the man, Walt Disney, was just as much of an attraction in the public's eyes as any of his creations, be it in animation or in Disneyland, as Walt even licensed out the use of his name to the Walt Disney Company to be used in marketing promotion and could be found fairly prominently within the 1964 New York World's Fair. However, more importantly, Walt understood the inherent value of providing a face to represent the organization, a truly personal figure that people could identify with, and could be the human embodiment of what that company stood for, as the benefit of having a person that epitomizes the core values, principles, and history of the company makes a massive corporation more personable. So up until now, we've only addressed the historical precedents for the animatronics and the use of the name Walt Disney. But the big question here is, why should Disney create a Walt Disney animatronic? Now, first of all, Disney's latest generation of audio-animatronic technologies have now advanced to such a stage that the fluidity of movements are more stable and more nuanced than ever before, as we saw last year with the Nave River Shaman in Pandora, the World of Avatar. But combine this with the fact that these animatronics are electric and not hydraulic, thus meaning that these are more reliable and more consistent than we've ever seen. However, in addition to these advancements being made by Walt Disney Imagineering is the incredible work that's being showcased recently by Garner Holt Productions, which is a company that specializes in making animatronic figures and have made various animatronic figures for Disney over the years. Therefore, this playtest that shows us the range of expression that Garner Holt now has control over in animatronic form makes a Walt Disney animatronic more plausible than ever before. The second and probably the most important reason for creating a Walt Disney animatronic is that the public deserve that direct connection to the man that started it all, as it's been more than 50 years since Walt Disney died, and there's been entire generations that have grown up with the name Walt Disney displayed before their most beloved movies. The young adults of today have had their whole childhood shaped by the company that this man started, and so it's only right that the people born before 1966 get the opportunity to be in the presence of this great man, even if it is only in animatronic form. As to some guess, it will act as a reminder of the history that this company has, but to many it will educate, inform and enlighten them that there was a man named Walt Disney, whose vision, ideology and philosophy is just as relevant today as it's ever been. And so if Disney were to create such an animatronic, where would be the most suitable location? And well, there's only really one answer, and that's the Carousel of Progress. As to begin with, it's said that Walt had more input into this attraction than any other attractions at Disneyland, as he individually acted out the animatronic tableaus for the Imagineers the same way he had previously acted out the characters and scenes in the storyboard meetings for the movies and animated shorts. But even more evidence can be found that this was Walt's attraction, as the Sherman brothers, who wrote the attraction's Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow theme song, have stated that they really wrote it as a tribute to Walt's vision and character. But if you need any more reasoning for why it should be included in Carousel of Progress, well, it's right there in the name. It's called Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress, and so it would only make sense that Walt would be featured within the attraction. Now personally, I love the Carousel of Progress. I love the storytelling, I love the music, and I also love the message behind that attraction. But in recent years, it's been in desperate need of an overall update, which I wholeheartedly agree with Rob Plays that the new eras that should be represented within the attraction should be the 1960s, early 1980s, late 1990s, and then sometime in the 2030s. All for the reasons that Rob stated in his video on this topic, which I'll link to in the top right hand corner and also down below. But even if Disney were not to update the rest of the attraction, I feel that the perfect place for a Walt Disney animatronic would be an introduction scene to the 20-minute long attraction, replacing the narration and slow curtain reveal with a short 2 to 3 minute monologue made by Walt Disney, standing there right in front of you, introducing you to the Carousel of Progress. And Imagineering could even use some of the original audio from the televised feature on the attraction for the New York World's Fair. And if Imagineering didn't have the correct audio and dialogue that they needed, I'm sure that they could piece together the correct audio, or even use voice reproduction artificial intelligence to create a voice match of Walt Disney. Now obviously there's an even easier alternative that Disney could easily take than creating an animatronic, and that is to replace the intro segment for the Carousel of Progress with a digital wall that could play a filmed introduction by Walt Disney to the attraction. But a new animatronic would bring a whole new lease of life to this attraction, which would surely become one of the park's most popular must-see attractions throughout your visit to the Magic Kingdom. And that brings us to the last question, and that is, when exactly would make the most sense for Disney to debut such an animatronic? As logically speaking, it should be 2021, as not only does that year mark the beginning of the year-long 50th anniversary celebrations of Walt Disney World Resort, which was named in honor of Walt Disney, but 2021 would also be the 120th birthday of Walter Elias Disney. And as if that's not enough, only 2 years later in 2023, the Walt Disney Company will celebrate its 100th year of operation, as the company was founded in 1923 by Walt and Roy Disney, meaning that this inclusion of an animatronic would carry even more relevance as a representation of the company's illustrious history and direct link to its past 100 years. Now I know that this hasn't been a standard DSNY newscast video, but to conclude this open letter, please Disney, make this idea a reality, as it would be a dream come true for you and me.
So there's a great big beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.